So this is MP Cards and Games doing my Oceanic deck profile. So this was the event I took to Oceanics, which is similar to the American Nationals, but a lot smaller. So you can get your entry into Worlds through this, but I didn't. I went 1-6, which isn't that great, but I was the youngest person there, and I was playing a deck that I would have preferred to play the Trickstar deck, but I just can't afford it. But it was still really nice playing this, and I had quite a bit of fun and saw quite a few of my mates there from locals, and some dudes from locals that weren't going to the event, or one of the dudes from locals allowed me to borrow some of his stuff, like 2 drolls. I already had one, but yeah, let me borrow 2 drolls, and this was really good during this event. I would recommend main it now if you can, main it. In pretty much any deck if you want to play in this format, just because of the Sky Striker Trickstar. This is terrible now. I sided it out like every game. The Ghost Ogre, I just don't own 3 ashes, so we play the 2 ashes. We did actually get a second dash, which is really nice. We actually traded for it, not at this event, but a bit earlier. So yeah, the only game I won was against the Mirror, and I'm playing Spyral. So I lost against all the others, but they were all Trickstar, and I usually would win 1 game in each round, but then I couldn't win the other 2 because I'd brick or they'd Recarnation, make me lose the best cards in my hand. We play 1 Ibley just to do the massive combo, which we only ever did once, maybe twice. Once against Trickstar player, and then once I think in the matchup against the Spirals. So again, this deck underperformed. I thought it would perform a little bit better, but I wouldn't recommend playing Spyral this format. Not because it's a terrible deck, but just because it can't keep up with Trickstar. Just can't keep up with Trickstar Sky Strikers. If you're gonna play anything, I'd probably recommend either playing that, but if you're on a budget, maybe Ultra Geist, just because you can main like Anti-Spell, Fragrance, Imperial Order. We played the 1 Fix and the 1 Drone because they're at 1. If they're at more, we would definitely play them at more. Yeah, we main the 3 Super Agent. This was good for clearing back row through this event, and it is really nice to have. But yeah, it's a good card. Yeah, it's nice and cool, and it helps you make most of your combos. You want to see it as soon as possible. Tough, this is really good for breaking boards. Sometimes it would bait out stuff. Unfortunately, usually you would need 2 Spiral Monsters to make double helix and to go combo off, so sometimes letting them bait that off isn't always the best. But it is really good because it allows to pop. And if the format wasn't full of Brandish Trickstar, I think this deck would be a top tier contender, but I don't feel like it can really go as well as that deck now. We play the 1 Last Resort, 1 Master Plan, which is a brick, but sometimes if you draw the right cards, it's not terrible to draw. And then Sleeper. Sleeper's really good. It allows you to pop 2, but I didn't really make it much during my rounds because I either bricked, got my hand take. I didn't get draw and lock comboed, but I got the good cards out of my hand taken, like Resort, or I just didn't live long enough to play them. Foolish Barrel of Goods. A few times this was good, but other times it wasn't because I drew 2 copies of these and like one of the cards we wanted to send. Foolish Barrel of Goods, this is better than what I thought, especially because we play the Soul Charge and the Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn I did see this twice. One time it was really good. The other time I had Anti-Spell Fragrance on the board, so I had to set it anyway. The 1 Rotor for consistency, we only saw it once and it got ashed. Upstart, we didn't see this during any of our games, but 39 cards for a bricky deck. It's just good to run 39. 1 for 1. If you draw it, you win the game, or you're probably going to win unless you're going second against Trickstar. But yeah, we didn't see it today. 3 Terraforming, we saw it a fair bit, but probably not enough. And most of the time when we did see it, we tried to set it so we wouldn't get recarnated. Or we draw Resort in our hand and our and we side out our pseudo space. We played the resort and pseudo space. Pseudo space is alright, but it just gets rid of your resort permanently, which is annoying. I did have to play it one game to get enough spirals to make a decent spiral board, but it is really annoying. I wish we would have had copies to at least 2 resorts. But yeah, we play 3 Call by the Grave. This was actually good. I did see it in a few games, and it did help me. And then there was other games where I just didn't live long enough to play it. But if you're playing a deck that gets really hurt by hand traps, I think you should play it this format, because everyone's playing Drolls, Ashes, not as much Ghost Ogres, but those Drolls and Ashes really shut down this sort of deck. So seeing this is really good. And one game we just kept on drawing the Drolls and Ashes against our opponent, but they kept on drawing Call to the Grave, which was really annoying. We played the one Hornet bit. This actually did help me in one of my games. I actually did win one of the games because of this, because it just is a free link too. We only own the 1 copy, and we don't own the engages, so we just thought to spice this in just because we had a little bit of room. And I don't own Evelines or anything. I would have played those, and we played the Kagari in the extra deck anyway. The one Big Red, really nice. I did see a few top decks where it was good. Assault, I love and hated this card. It was really good to send because it's like a it's like a double summon, but when you draw it, you hate it. And I drew it one time when I drew 2 Foolish Barrel of Goods and a Master Plan, which I would have preferred to pitch the Master Plan. I also did it with Quick Fix, which if I had gotten that in the grave, I would have been able to do the whole Spiral combo against this Trickstar player and actually won my match. Double Resort, good. Didn't really see it that often, and when I did, I could usually pitch it. And it doesn't have too bad of a secondary effect. Didn't really use that this week, but yeah, for the Oceanics. And the utility, I did side this out usually, but it still did see some niche play, and it wasn't too bad. It was still better than some of the other cards in the main. So that was the main. We also one of the dudes at Locals allowed us to borrow Ibley, which allows you to make the spiral board a lot easier. I thought it would come up more where I'd give it to my opponent, but a lot of people are running Nightmares, a lot of Nightmares in the extra deck now, so you're pretty much giving them a free link monster. For the extra deck, we run 2 double agents, of course. We actually didn't get Reapers a single time at this event, which was really good. I was expecting to get Reapers a lot, Reapered a lot by my opponents, but good card. But I did get striked once, and he actually drolled my hand when I had like Resort, double Super Agent, and like 2 other cards that didn't matter, but that would have allowed me to do the full combo. But he ended up recarnating me, making me banish my hand. Then I drew enough to make into double Helix, but then he ended up striking the effect, and it was like I just couldn't go on from there on. I pretty much lost once I lost him. Nightmare Mermaid, it's alright. It allows you to do the combo, and it's just a free discard. Nightmare Phoenix for the combo, and it can pop Trickstar stuff. I didn't really make it that often. Griffin didn't make it a single one of my games. I did borrow this one, so thanks for the dude who let me borrow it at Locals. Nightmare Goblin, because I only did the Spiral combo once today, I only made this once, which was surprising for me that I only did it once. I was expecting not to do it like all the time. I did it twice. I was expecting to do it at least 4 or 5 times today. Maybe not that many, but at least 3 times today. But I just kept on either almost having the combo or getting the combo destroyed by Recarnation. And then we run the Unicorn. This is really good. We did try to make it as many games as we could. It just makes the deck half decent again. That's the only reason why this deck's playable. If this didn't exist, I wouldn't have brought this deck. I would have just brought even Blue Eyes to Oceanics, and that's not that good of a deck at all. But this card just makes the deck playable again. Again, I wouldn't really call it Tier 1, even though it was predicted to be Tier 1. I would call it more Tier 1.5, just because it's good, but it really can't. Trickstar Sky Strikers, which is the new meta, is just too good for it. And like I said, I saw it 5 rounds in a row. So yeah, if you're going to your nationals in your own country, expect to face that. Pretty much, that's the matchup you should be expecting the most. One Griffin, we made it once or twice, and it just didn't end up working very well. In theory, it's really good, but they ended up just destroying it before we did anything else with it. Kagari, we made it once or twice. Not terrible, but just didn't save us there because we were versing that. They bore loaded, and we had 2,000 attack on this thing, but they bore loaded and then they just took it and killed us. Decode, this is really good. It allows OTK and OTKs, and it also would protect from targeting, which a lot of the Sky Striker cards do. So it's really good to negate those. And sometimes I'd make this if I couldn't do the full spiral board. I'd make this, and even though even in my brain I thought it was inoptimal, it was still better than summoning something else, as long as I had something under it. Triz's Bania. I only made this twice. Once it didn't really help, but another time my opponent misplayed and specialed a Trickstar into an arrow here, so he lost all of his back row and that monster and lost 15k. I think I ended up winning that game. The other game, the dude almost misplayed and summoned to this zone, but he realised, oh no, the effect, and then he just didn't summon it in that zone. Trigate, good in theory, I only made it like once or twice with the combo. Borreload, made it once and it got stolen by another Borreload. Good, but it's not as good in this format when the spells do all the targeting. It was better when True Draco was a deck, or was a really competitive deck, and you had Masterpiece. Even last format it was way better. It's just not that great anymore unless you're playing Trickstar and you need something like this. Is really only good for beating over itself, and it's not too bad to steal something, but in this deck it just takes up too many resources and your opponent's probably going to kill it anyway. Firewall, we only made it once, and that was to bounce stuff, and I think it died. Sylvan Sprite Princess, we made it a few times, but we always milled the hand traps for some reason and not the spells. This token looks really good. Now onto the side deck. We played 3 Reapers. This is really good against the Trickstar Sky Strikers. You banish Kagari, and then a lot of half of their plays are gone. They can still play Yu-Gi-Oh, but it slows them down, and this actually gave me a win just doing this and like having a backup, because you can't just have this and nothing to back up with, because that deck can still kill you if you don't have a backup, but if you do with this, it's really good. Another game we drew it, we drew 2 of them, but we ended up discarding one, and he scapegoated, and we ended up sending the Borreload just because if we'd sent, he'd already summoned 1 Kagari, so he only had 1 left, and if we'd banished the 1 Kagari, it wouldn't have really been worth it, and he could have made a Borreload with that board. I didn't run a Link Spider, or I would have banished a Link Spider instead, because he ended up making Topologic Bomber and killing me anyway by specialing to a zone that points to. That's yeah. But yeah, this is good if you want to face that matchup. I probably should have mained one instead of the Ghost Ogre. Chaos Hunter, the one game I made it ended up getting outed, but I guess it's not too bad. It prevents you from getting recarnationed, but it just I ended up not having enough resources. Sphere modes, these against the Goki matchup didn't face any all day. I would recommend, in some countries, I know Goki's bigger. There was a few Goki at the Oceanics, but I didn't face any. I only side this in against the Spiral Mirror, and it didn't even see any play because I ended up beating him. Twin Twisters, I did side this in once, game 1 against my first game against Trickstar. It's alright against them, but it's better against stuff like Ultrageist. This is good against those rogue matchups, which we didn't see many at this event, and I wasn't expecting to see many. I was expecting to see a few Ultrageists though. Shed Ride, we didn't draw it the entire event, but it's really good in theory, and it's almost like a Max C, but for opponents searching. Someone did do it to us though, and we did slow down our plays, like what if we would have been under Max C. But yeah, we just didn't really see it. Red Reboot, we didn't even side it in the entire event. Against Ultrageist and some of those heavy back row decks, it seems good in theory, but faced those. So yeah, we never sided this in. And against Trickstar, I know it stops a reincarnation, but losing 4k, they can probably kill you anyway if you can't kill them that turn. So that's the problem with Red Reboot. And then we played 2 anti-spell fragrance. We saw this 2 games, and it did slow down the Trickstar player, but it just took too long to get other things on board, and sometimes I would have to set spells as well. So yeah, it was good, but wasn't good enough for me to top the event. It was still a fun day. I got this playmat for entering the event, because only if you had to get your invite to enter. All Top Cut was all the event. Everyone in the event was supposed to get sleeves, but Konami didn't end up shipping enough to the event. So then only top 150 got it, and I had to drop round 6 because I had to get home by a certain time, and I could have made it more lenient if I kept on winning, but I kept on losing. So yeah, and I was only 8 players away from getting those sleeves, the World Qualifier Championship sleeves, which are worth about $60. It's a bit annoying I didn't get those, but I guess that's how the cookie crumbles. But yeah, it was still fun, and I'm gonna try to probably play a better deck next year for Oceanics. This was a good deck. It just doesn't hold up against what's the meta right now, and I wish that deck Trickstar Sky Strikers was never discovered, because against normal Sky Strikers, I don't mind normal Sky Strikers. They're a lot slower, and you can still get rid of their stuff. They will still take your stuff and gain advantage, but with the Trickstar one, it kills your hand. It's just so versatile that a lot of decks just can't play around it, and so many people are playing it that you have mirror matches all the time, and even lower tiers. Like when I kept on losing, I was expecting eventually to face more mirrors or Ultrageist or Goki or some other rogue deck, but no, I ended up facing more Trickstar Sky Striker players, because so many people were playing that deck just because it is the best deck, and it goes down really far into Top Cut, and just because it's expensive doesn't mean it's somewhere like this premier event they won't play it. I just don't have the money to play that deck, but I hope I hope Reincarnation gets limited or banned, and Lycris gets limited or banned, and maybe some of the Sky Striker stuff get hit, but I don't really think it's that bad, the Sky Striker stuff. Maybe Hornet Bit going to 1, but yeah. So yeah, the event was fun. It did happen a week ago after uploading this, but I've just had to have time to think about it, and I've been a bit busy. So I haven't made content for a while, but hopefully I should be able to wrap some new content, and hopefully next week I should be able to actually get a top 8 deck profile, because one of my mates at Locals who went to Oceanics got top 8. He was the only dude in the entire Oceanic event that wasn't playing Trickstar Sky Strikers, who actually topped the event. So yeah, I'll have that out hopefully in the next week. It was a fun event, but yeah, a lot of Trickstar Sky Strikers. And look forward to some new content from me. MP Cards and Games signing out.